So, Kieran, I'd love to start at the start. What was life like as a youngster? What were your aspirations?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I didn't grow up in Christchurch, so you can't ask me where I went to school. I grew up in Papakura, so in South Auckland. We grew up in a great household. Lived in a cul-de-sac. My parents, my mum was at home when I was at school. She's a primary school teacher. My dad's a surveyor. And they're both one's from Taranaki, one's from Timaru, and they ended up in Auckland, kind of away from family a little bit, and had a great childhood. But a few things within that kind of stick out to me, and probably of what I utilise today and what I utilise through my career is the fact that it was an outdoor childhood. It was a get out the house and play sport. Cul-de-sac was fantastic for us to get outside basically after every day and play with the neighbours, and whether that's rugby, frisbee, inline hockey, we had all these things going on. And so I'm the middle of three brothers. My older brother's pretty close in age, a couple of years older, and the younger one's 4 years younger. So it was a pretty excitable household. Plenty of sport, plenty of outdoor activities. And a really supportive family, but obviously where we grew up in South Auckland, it's multicultural. It's an awesome place because you get to see so many different perspectives of life, and of what other people perhaps are going through that we probably were fortunate to not have to go through. So that's how I was brought up, and there's heaps of things that my parents instilled in me around, doing what's right and doing what's good. And my dad really probably instilled a bit of work ethic into me as well. He's one who really worked hard, so he'd get us in when he was establishing their business. We'd go in and vacuum and clean his offices on the Saturday after sport, and do lots of stuff together as a family. And I think being away from probably our grandparents and other cousins and stuff a little bit meant that we grew up pretty close, and had a pretty nice and awesome childhood.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And folks, I would definitely encourage you to take this opportunity while you're here. Sometimes a golden nugget will just drop, so please use your notebooks and just take a note. If Kieran says something like, "Whoa, that really hits home, I needed to hear that," please write it down. And Kieran, the one thing I would say that I really admire about you and some of your other fellow top players is your curiosity. You're always asking questions. You're always eager to learn. And so where did that come from?
Look, I think it was a case of, as a student, I always wanted to do well. For some reason, I always wanted to be at the top. So, I was handy academically, and I wanted to push myself there. But the sport was what really drove me. And so I always wanted to compete. Having an older brother definitely, I think, was where it probably started. So my older brother was physically stronger than me, as they are, fast at everything. So, I would continually push him to the boundaries, whether that's in running races or, playing rugby out in the backyard. Just wanting to compete, wanting to try and beat him and win, and that requires you to learn. I had to find certain ways for me to get one over him, because if it came down to a fight, I got spat out the ass, got beat up and got whatever. So I had to try and be really smart with the way I learnt to try and beat him in different things. The way it was with him was I'd sit there and watch him play PlayStation. PlayStation was just new then when I was growing up, and he wouldn't let me have a go. He'd play the entire game and then sit there for a couple of hours watching him, and then he'd go, "Oh yeah, here you go, you can play now," and he was off. So I was like, "I'm not playing now." So I'd go follow him outside, and we'd do something out there. So I think that was his ploy. So it was, he shaped me a lot of ways in that, and trying to figure out, as you say, you've got to find a different way to for me to compete against him, not just make it a physical battle. And I think as I went through into high school and things, where I was at high school, I went to Roosevelt College, which is a co-ed school in Papakura. And it's basically 2,000 kids, all walks of life. And if you want to be successful, you've got to really take it. You've got to grab it with your own two hands. If you want to succeed, teachers and the place is awesome. But yeah, surround yourself with the right people. I think I did that really well at that age. And, I wanted, for some reason I just wanted to succeed and wanted to do well. So, probably brought about from my, upbringing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it was about just trying to do it myself. And I think a lot of that was pushed from my parents and stuff. But then it's like, okay, if I want to do it, I've got to go out there and do it myself. So that's probably where it started for me, in terms of, putting a bit on my shoulders to do it, the way I wanted to do it.
I love it. And when you go back to those days, you had that leaning towards sport rather than school, and you said you got by at school, but sport was your passion. Yeah. Was there anybody there, so I had my headmaster who was a pivotal leader that got me to make this decision. Was there anybody that helped you see that there's a crossroads, like, ooh, if I go down that, I could do really well? Yeah,
there's a couple, definitely a few. I love all sport. Cricket and rugby were my passions growing up. Probably enjoyed cricket more than rugby when I was going through high school. And so I had a cricket coach who was Mr. Alan Wimp. And he appeared, at that age, like he was quite old to me. He seemed very old, probably 70, 80, but he's probably only 50, 60 at that time. But he would drive from Weymouth, which is probably half an hour away, and my route to school was via Karaka Cricket Club, which was my cricket club. So he'd drive in the morning, half an hour out, to meet me at 7:30 in the morning at the Karaka Cricket nets. So my dad, as he's taking me to school, we'd come in there and my dad would sit and wait, and I'd get out and sit in the nets, and he'd give me throwdowns, and I'd hit balls for half an hour, a couple of times a week during kind of winter, and just during, and so it was kind of like, why is this guy investing in me a little bit? And probably I didn't quite understand at that point. I just thought, hey, this is quite cool. I'm, trying to push myself. He's invested in me. But the ability for him to give me a confidence that he really backs me and is willing to, he values what I could offer, that he's willing to do all this, drive out and see me and help me in that way, was amazing.
Such great leadership and influence.
Yeah, huge. And so seeing that, I guess, at the point at 13, 14, 15 years old, you don't quite, grasp it, of how important it was. But yeah, that had a massive impact on me in terms of, so those coaches were awesome, because he's not doing that for everyone, So it's pretty cool. And then another one as well, so my PE teacher at Roseville College, James Fraser, who was our kind of first 15 coach as well. So we were a big school. We had one rugby team, and we scraped together a team to try and make a rugby team at our school. And so, I played first 15, fifth form, sixth form, seventh form, and kept them in my last year. And the year before, when I was Form 6, I'd played counties representative sides in rugby and enjoyed it. I chose to go with the school team to Australia. We saved money, we fundraised. We wanted to go and play a gala tournament in the Gold Coast. So I did that with our first 15 because it was, a heck of a lot of fun,
Of course.
All the mates in the Gold Coast for a week. So I did that, and I sacrificed playing secondary schools rugby for counties and trying to make teams or whatever. But then James, he's like, we got back and there was another tournament for the counties Bs or something happening. So he said, he got me into that team. And he said, you got some selector or someone to come and watch me. And basically the selector said to James after, he said, don't bother with him, just tell him to stick with cricket. Is what he said. And so, I don't know when James told me that's what he said, and I think, but James probably took that personally on himself a little bit, and I don't think he told me straight away or within the next year, but so the next year in seventh form, he would similar to what Alan did. He'd come in and he lived in Auckland. He'd drive south, and I'd drive in early, and turn up on the rugby fields at Roseville College, which you had to pick out the class sometimes and different things. And it was kind of it's just me and him in the morning, and he would hold tackle pads. He would, because our team, none of our team really had aspirations to move on or in the game and things. And I didn't really myself, but I'm like, man, this guy's investing in me. This is amazing. I didn't know about the teams I could make or what I could do in the future because of the situation we're in. But yeah, that little investment there and his ability to just say, hey, look, we probably need to do a bit more than what we do, which was, Tuesday, Thursday for an hour, compared to what First 15s do now, which is professional flipping all day, So, he was massive. He kind of just gave me, hey, look, if you want to do this, we'll work this way, and, there's certain things we can help you with. He also helped out, so the tuck shop, so the canteen, so he got money from somewhere that I got to go and grab a filled roll and a primo every day.
Wow. What a good man.
Because I was skinny. You probably think I'm skinny now, so I was even skinnier back then, and I've lost a bit of weight since I was playing, but I needed to put on some weight because I hadn't touched the gym or hadn't touched anything at this point. And so he kind of guided me into a bit of nutrition, a bit of gym, and he's just going off. He's not he didn't know really what he was doing either, but and he would have been probably late 20s, I guess, at that point. And so, helped me in a lot of ways. So, I got to turn up to the canteen and take my filled roll and primo and add that to all the sandwiches, I'd made at home and different things. And so it gave me this perspective on potentially what it takes and this, how I can get, because where we were, there was no pathway for us out of Roseville College to get to professional rugby or get to kind of anything in sport.
And he really showed belief in you. This
so
was
showed
someone
belief in me, 100%.
Yeah.
Showed belief and then said, I believe in you. If you want to do this, let's work hard for it. And I think I was willing to work hard because that's how I was brought up. My dad would say, go hit balls, go practice, throw a ball around, whatever. So that was my DNA. Mm-hmm. And basically from there, kind of went from playing for Roseville College, to make a county secondary school team, which we played in a regional tournament, to making this team, Northern Regions, and then making New Zealand secondary schools. And I'm literally turning up at that tournament, not even knowing there's a New Zealand secondary schools team. I genuinely didn't know you could make a New Zealand team because no one talked about it at our school. It was not like it is now where there's kind of pathways. So I felt I kind of did it in a different way and felt like I had to really prove myself a lot, coming from a smaller school and coming from a smaller region. That's probably, those things there stick with you for, all your life really and all your rugby career and even now. So.
It sounds like your upbringing as well in this school helped you develop grit. Like you're going to go that bit further, you're going to go that bit extra. And to be at a regional team and then a national team and then to be captain, of course, you need that grit and that tenacity. Yeah,
you do. I think there's a bit of that within me. I think also too what really I valued the friendships and the value of good people around you and friends and stuff. I think for me, it shows how much it can really do to you. You don't have to go down this one path of, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to stick to it. You can have balance in it. And you can get to where you want to go in a different way and rather than just being fully focused on this one thing. And all this, you've got to bounce back and you've got to be able to, take these hits or things like that. But, I really valued the value of friendships and the value of being in a pretty safe place with my friends and in that. And so, you
had your dream team around you, right?
A little bit, yeah. And then literally none of them would come with me to the next, when I represented counties, it was kind of Wesley College plus me. So I was, the one white guy in this team with a lot of Polynesians and Māori and stuff, so it was amazing. But, I had to, live a sort of, not really a life that was kind of, just really quite quiet, just because that was the nature of these teams I was representing. And so you pick up a lot. I learnt a lot over those years, kind of ended my schooling, and when I moved on, because I was pretty quiet, and listening and just watching.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things that happen in sport and rugby, especially in teams. For me, I got a lot of gold out of that.
To me, that's a golden nugget right there,
Yeah.
guys. If I was thinking, I'd be like, okay, like leaders listen, leaders speak last, and you were in that team and you felt you had to sit back and listen, but actually that was a skill, unbeknownst to you, that was going to help you as a great leader.
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped me. I think it really, that whole listening part is huge. And so, and even coming down to Canterbury, when I first came down, you come down here and it's this big team. You've got, walking through the gym, there's Dan Carter, Reuben Thorne, Justin Marshall, Richie McCaw and all these guys, and you're a 19-year-old going, wow, this is unbelievable. I'm got 60 kgs on my bench press. I'm like,
60
these
more
guys
than me.
come in and they're walking. I'm like, I need to do some work. But just inspire, like, you're just rubbing shoulders with them, and not that you had conversations. They might say hello as they walk past, but being in the same gym, working out with them, and not with them, but at different times. And so, little things like being able to just soak up, and because I never had confidence in myself as a leader. Like I did captain my cricket teams and first 15, but as soon as we went into these bigger teams, I was like, oh, no, I'm this kid from this small school. I've got no right to talk. And in some ways, that was probably a good thing for me, because it allowed me to listen, allowed me to watch and go, because I had all these ideas, these leadership ideas in my head, and other people were probably trying them out for me, and I was watching and saying, oh, that's probably a good thing, that's maybe not so good. You build up experience in this, and then I guess finally your coaches and your peers and your teammates suddenly realise that I'm suddenly voicing these opinions, and I'm voicing, I'm demanding of people, and then suddenly go, hey, you're a leader, and I was like, I'm not a leader. Had no idea I was a leader.
What helped you develop that courage to be the leader, to have those courageous conversations? Yeah,
man, I don't know. I think it's a lot to do with everything that just built up to that point, watching and learning, being a part of teams and knowing what success was needed. And I was like, it came to the point really that for me to be successful, I needed this person and this person to do their job really well, and that will make the team be successful. So if they're not doing it, I actually need to say to them, hey, we need to do this or that. And so really just being courageous to really just say what needs to be done. If it needs to be done, you say it. And so I think I really just grew in that space. And so I could do that quite easily, because that was on the rugby field at training, or just having a quiet word to your mate, or after training say, hey, look, why don't we just do a bit more work on this pass or this move? Because that was quite easy. It probably took a while before I could get up in front of the team and deliver something like that. But those little conversations were pretty vital, and that is leadership, and I didn't know it at the time.
100%. And when you say that, I'm just hearing the word influence. You have this influence over others, and what you just described about having the conversations and the patience and the ability to listen, I could imagine we could take that into our business lives, but I also could imagine taking it, like as a parent, like just that extra bit of patience, listening that little bit longer, not finishing the sentence off. So I feel like the leadership that you are exemplifying, it transcends through all different parts of life and business. Yeah, it does. And so you talk about, like listening. I can't imagine. So my dad took me to so many rugby games. We drove quite a few places, and he wouldn't say one word about the game on the way home. And I don't know how he did it. I've got my kids now, and I go watch my kids' games, and you're driving home, and you just want to talk to them about the game, and say,
say, "Oh, what have you done this or this?" And but I remember my dad, and he was so supportive in what I wanted to do, and I think he genuinely wanted me to do well, but he would do it in his way.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't say anything technical. He wouldn't say, "You should have done this or should have done that." But he would be there for me. And so, that part of leading is definitely what I try and do for myself, with my kids now. And that's actually bloody hard to do. It's a really hard thing to just sit there and just be there and support them as kind of a person, as their dad or whatever it is. So, I appreciate that, and I think that's a massive part of leading is just in some ways being there and allowing that person to shine and allowing them to be who they are. Yeah.
What's beautiful what you're saying there is I hear empathy. You're letting others shine. You're thinking about your kids and you're thinking about your team. And I really think that empathy is the number one trait that we need to, as leaders, high-performing leaders, to really embody and put ourselves in other people's shoes. And you can do that as a dad, partner, a leader of a business or a sports team.
Yeah, it's huge. And I think I really valued that as I moved up. So when I, captain of the All Blacks, it's challenging in all these ways, but I genuinely found this point where empathy was massive. I think my whole childhood and how I was brought up got me to the point where I, had a better connection with the Polynesian boys who came in. I could connect with these guys who were out of these, potentially rougher neighbourhoods and things, and also the white guys from the farm and things like that. So I was lucky I had that ability to connect through how I was brought up. And so being able to put yourself in those shoes and understanding that it's not a one-size-fits-all in leadership. And in rugby, it's the same, it's actually genuinely connecting on an individual basis with each of my guys, was important. Because then they trust you as a leader. And so it was, talking to Rico Ioane, as a young fellow, and just asking him about his family, or, his mum and dad are a big influence on his life, so finding out a little bit about that. And then suddenly there's this connection that's bigger than, purely him catching a ball and scoring tries. It's more, and then for me, if I needed to have a conversation that needed to be said with him, it was a bit easier for us to have it.
What you've hit there, and I might if you don't mind me interrupting, it's so gold for the person out there who's running a company or has an organisation who's worried about staff retention. And I know we've all heard about the Great Resignation. Well, I think we've all seen it. We've seen people leaving and moving on. So to keep people engaged, it's about influencing them, and to have influence over them, you need to know what already influences them. And with Rico, you did that.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's it's hard to do because but creating that genuine connection, with everyone on an individual basis, on a connection with that person, and it shows them they care. All they're looking for is a little bit of trust, aren't they? They want to be able to trust you, and you obviously need them to trust you. And for us on the field, it's trusting that you'll do your job, I'll do mine, we'll bring it together. And in business, it's more about trust of still doing their role, isn't it? And I'm going to allow you to do your role. And if you do that and have a connection, they're more likely to want to give more to the business, give more to you as a leader. Mm-hmm. And it's not paying lip service to it. It's making it genuine. And perhaps, it's probably one of my biggest strengths as a leader was probably that part of it. Looking back and how I probably approached things, that's was probably the main approach for me in that area. Yeah,
and I can personally attest to that. Like anytime we connect, it's very much you're always engaging, always asking, and you've got a skill set. And I'm sure that others who've met Kieran today, he has a way of when you're sitting with him, like you're the only person in the room. He's looking right at you, and that's real intentional focus and presence. Yep. And as a leader, I guess that's just incredibly important.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's important, as you say, like just being present with people is massive, and being ability to listen, and you've talked about it, but kind of just listening and saying, I care about you. And so for us in rugby and on the field, you build these great bonds around how hard you work and what you do on the field, and you sweat together, and you see each other working hard, and those are awesome. So that's how it creates a lot of things. But the cohesion and what you build and the bonds you build, perhaps just outside of the field, are probably as important, or maybe just as important. So going for a coffee or playing cards with each other and having a laugh, and
Friday afternoon drinks.
Yeah, like for us it was Tuesday afternoon because after our big day.
Why not? It's Tuesday afternoon, right?
Far enough away from Saturday. But yeah, and the All Blacks did it really well. Like they genuinely thought laughter and fun was. So Steve Hansen brought this in probably a little bit and said, okay, for us we have to structure fun, laughter in our environment. And so we that was purposely built in.
That's brilliant. And a lot of people think of fun as spontaneous, but actually did structure it. Like we're going to be intentional.
The fun part is the cool bit, and the laughter is awesome because that creates all these things and feelings. But while you're having this fun, you're having this talk with your colleague that perhaps you don't know quite so much, and you can connect on some other level. So, yeah.
I love that. And in terms of, so you're in the All Blacks, you're not quite captain yet, but you're watching, you're listening, you're being very curious. So when you stepped up and you got the big call up, what's the first thing that came to mind? Was there any, imposter syndrome, oh my God, I can't believe it's happening? What was your first reaction when you got the big call up?
It's a good question. Like I think when I did get the big call up, like I was ready. I actually genuinely wanted to lead the team, and I did want that job. And so it was more a case of, because I'd led the team for about 10 tests prior to that, when Richie was away. Like I was primed. I wanted it, I was at that point where, come on, Steve, unleash me a little bit. I had all these, feelings and thinking around things, and wanted to have a crack. And so that was probably my first thought. Amazing. This is like the biggest honour, I guess, as an All Black you can have. But I genuinely wanted to sink my teeth into it and try and, do things, my way, I guess, in some ways. So it was a pretty amazing moment, and to be able to lead the team, it was crazy. And the difference between just filling in as captain and being full-time captain is chalk and cheese, man. You just pretty relaxed when you fill in and kind of don't quite understand what Richie went through for, 10 years, 8 years. There's a lot of stuff chucked on you on your shoulders and everything. And when you're not that guy, you can just focus on the game and do all this stuff. But suddenly you're taking the entire game and players and coaches on your shoulders and thinking, going through this. It's the enormity of it is, it is kind of what it is, and it's challenging. I was definitely ready for the challenge. But when you're actually given it, it's a different ball game, and you've got to really step up and improve a lot more,
And in terms of, you said you had like an idea of what you wanted to do, you were excited to step in. What was your vision for being the captain? What did you want, when you walked away from that role as captain, yes, I achieved that. What was that vision?
I think I wanted to ensure that I based my leadership around the connections, it was around the people enjoying what we're doing. Like, it's a high-performing team. Like, we've got to be successful, so it, it's tough because you're based on people look at you from your results, and so that's what they look at and what you're doing. So it's hard to kind of sometimes look past that as a leader. But I feel like what I left is a team that was willing to connect in different ways a bit more, in terms of emotionally, empathetically, and vulnerability. And I think that helped us because the people now in rugby, or everywhere, young people are different to us older people, and so they needed slightly different things and around their emotional regulation and what they're seeking. And in rugby, it's especially that way because you get young people coming in. There's a lot given to them, and it's a lot of really good stuff, but they get used to just being fed, what to do, what to eat, when to turn up, train here, do this, do that, do that. So it's about trying to create opportunities for them to say, hey, look, there's other things that they can work on. They can focus on this part of their life, balance of it, but also understanding what it needs and what it takes. I think that's probably where I tried to lead the side. Prided myself on how my ability to captain in the moment. And that's being calm, that's being calculated, it's like knowing to make clear decisions when your team's under the most pressure. Really pride myself on being able to, stay clear-headed, stay in the moment on those big occasions, and
Can we
and make the
unpack
right
that?
call. Yeah.
I just want to dive in there. I think that's fascinating. We all have pressure. I really want to know more about that. So when you're under pressure and you have to make a decision, and on the rugby field, it's not like, okay, let me take 5 minutes and have a cup and we'll think. You've got half a second to make a decision, or you've got a minute to make a decision.
Yeah.
What was your thought process, or was there a process you went through to help you make a good, clear decision?
Yeah, look, I think a lot of it, when you get to that moment, I didn't want to think too much. I just wanted to, you need to back your instincts. So at that point, there's not much thinking going on. Yes, there's this knowledge of what's happening in the game, what's the ref doing, how do they defend, all the stuff that's happening in the background as a leader that's going on, but I didn't really want to be thinking about it. So I was able to just make a decision because I knew that over years, over the week of preparation, all this stuff, I've built up all this knowledge and things that are there, that when you get out there on the field, you can't be thinking. There's just no way you should be thinking about, what's coming or what's going on. You literally have to think about what's happening right now. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're not be giving what you need to. So it was a long time to be able to trust that, I guess, because you always want to think about things. But on the field, I utilised key guys, so that helped me. So I utilised Ben Smith a lot, who was out the back, or Bodie Barrett, who was for the last year or so. For me, so a fullback, so he can see this field, he can see a lot of stuff that's happening, whereas I've got my head in and I can feel things, but I can't quite see what's happening on the field. So I utilise them. I utilise our first five, and basically just would have like what do the military call it when you have like short, sharp conversations. And so it would be 10 seconds, 20 seconds when there was a break and play, connect. What are you seeing? Seeing this. Think we should do this. All good. Yep. Okay. Let's bring the team in. Let's deliver that. And so, I was making sure I had those guys, really good thinking that helped me if I need to make a decision. Plus, you've got things coming in. So you've got your coaches who are watching the game. You've got these trainers and water boys running out and delivering messages to you, and sometimes you just like, go away, because there's too much info sometimes. Yeah. But what Nick Gill, our trainer, who's still trainer of the All Blacks, was great at is he'd go to the right person with that, and he'd go, if he came to me, you could either use it and deliver it or not, and know how to filter a little bit of stuff. So. I think the biggest thing as a leader is you build these processes and you do your preparation, you do all your work, that when you get in that actual moment of pressure and when these things are happening, as long as you can keep your mind clear and calm, back your instinct, I think is the biggest one. Back all that stuff that's got to you to where you are now.
I love that. Yeah, and that reinforces, I feel, Kieran, what you're saying there. People that want to jump up a ladder, whether it's in sport, whether it's in business, and they want to become the captain overnight. Well, actually, that leadership is earned and it's learned. Yep. And throughout life, we have experiences where we fail, experiences where we learn from those. So when you were in the captaincy role, what was one of the big failures? Like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Like, if I could go back, that's what I learned from that. I would do this differently. What was one of those moments?
I don't know. It's hard. I don't ever look back on things and I wouldn't change anything, but I think you look back and go, there's definitely weeks in leaders where I look at weeks where perhaps we'd lost at the end of the week, and you go, I maybe let things slide, and you go, maybe I trusted, like that, or assumed, I made assumptions that these guys have done their work, they've done their work, and it's, I'm like, oh, there's a thing in the back of my head saying I should say this, but I assume that perhaps it's already been said, and maybe, and then so if I didn't say it, and then it came to the weekend or something, and things didn't go well, you always look back and go, why didn't I just say that, or hit us up about this thing. So that's probably the only, the biggest thing, and some of them, a lot of weeks you have great weeks, and you turn up on the weekend, you lose, so, you can't control everything there, but there's definitely a lot of... And so the weeks when the All Blacks lose, it's generally not the Saturday or the game day that is the reason. It's the week. It's the Sunday to Friday. And so if you think about that as a business, or whatever it is, it's not, the day of the sales or everything. That's not the reason why things don't go. It's all that preparation leading up to there, that's the reason why things don't go well. So, that was always the way. It was maybe we didn't get our mindset right on a Sunday night, we weren't, guys maybe took it too easy on a Monday, or, whatever it was, something like that just really filters through the week. So there's always things that we always took out of. The great thing with, rugby was that we got to learn, and we could apply these learnings on the next week. There's a next week in rugby. But you've got to find those lessons, don't you? So you've got to review properly. You've got to hold each other accountable in those spaces, and be prepared to be held accountable, and make sure that you've got a space of learning and stuff. So that's what was really good in those environments. Because, you want to win every game, but you're not going to. So be realistic around that.
Yeah, I love that evaluation piece. I really like that, where you guys would reflect and learn. And I feel like as leaders, that's something that we maybe don't do as much as we could, is reflect on our day, our week, our behaviour, our business. What do you do post-rugby in terms of evaluating your personal leadership?
Yeah, look, I think it's changed. Like, I'm kind of exploring this new avenue, which is a bit like yourself, in terms of like changing my role now. Now I want to pass on these kind of leadership lessons and things to people. So I'm created my own kind of business that's doing that. And it's in different ways, and it's crazy because, I'm just connecting with people, and sometimes it's just, giving talks to businesses. Some it's about culture or leadership or, high-performing teams and things. For me right now, to ensure that I'm doing that the best I can, it's really getting the balance right. Pardon me. And so balance right now is heavily focused on my family, and being able to then give myself the opportunity to, if I get that right, then I'm in a great state and I can deliver other things really well. So that's probably where I'm looking at my own personal leadership right now. And it's hard because I actually don't miss the intensity and everything and all that stuff. I just know that that's been part of my life, and that's awesome. I actually don't need to chase that. I don't need to chase that now. I can chase something else and see it in a different way, and help people in a different way. Like, so seeing when I was a captain, or a senior leader, seeing a guy come in kind of in your position, or someone young, and see them grow and suddenly go out and perform on the world stage and stuff was a massive kick for me. Like, I loved it. So, now it's kind of seeing that in a different way, with businesses or people who I work with or things like that, yeah.
I love it. And for the person out there that's thinking, I've been in this career for a long time, and I'm thinking of switching careers. I've got like a toe out the door, or I might retire. How did you compartmentalize that? Because I remember the first time we met and we were chatting about, do you miss it? Like, absolutely not. I was like, you knew I do not miss being on the field doing that. How did you walk away from that career and being at the top of your game to go, I'm okay with that? boom, we're done, let's move on. What was the process there for you to separate those two worlds?
First off, the caveat on that, like I'm very lucky. Like I did what I loved for a long time, and was well rewarded for it. So I didn't have to jump straight into, a 9-to-5 job or something like that. So I appreciate the privileged position I'm in there. I do realise I worked hard and got to that point as well. But it was probably the last few years of my career. It's like, okay, it's coming, obviously. I can't play forever. So, rugby is great. It does have professional development windows for you. So there's something happening every week from when you first start playing, financial guy coming in or a guest speaker or go out and do work experience or go study, whatever it is. But you don't really grasp that as a young fella. You're just like, oh, I'm playing rugby, whatever. I'll do that forever. But yeah, the last few years I've been going, okay, I'm passionate about leadership. I love coaching. How's it going to look when I finished? And I didn't actually have an answer. I still don't really have that answer now, which is actually really fine by me. And even this morning, I've got these visions of what I want to do, but I'm happy if it's not exactly what it is in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
If it does take me over here or over here, then so it was actually quite cool writing down some of that stuff and putting something in place around it. So yeah, I had things in place. I was in Japan. I actually ended up being in Japan for 7 months away from the family through COVID and stuff. It's supposed to be kind of a song of my career. Family in Japan, kind of more time with them, bit of travelling, and obviously it didn't happen. So there by myself, basically go from training to home in a strict bubble. Couldn't connect with teammates and stuff like that. So it's pretty. So I studied applied management degree at it. So and it was all just about basically writing a portfolio on my life and on my learning. So it was awesome. So yeah, really dissected my career, my early life. And realised, man, what an impact that had on my career and all these learnings out of my rugby career. And so it really just set me up, and it kind of like, okay, I've got this portfolio that I've got on my learnings and lessons. Came home, wrote a bit of a program for like a leadership course thing, and created these different things, and just kind of, yeah. So now it's kind of got this basis, got this right here, and it's like, okay, I'm happy. I can do something I'm really passionate about, which is helping people, and do it in a way where I get to prioritise my family. So
it's beautiful.
It's good.
What I love about that, Kieran, I think others would have picked up on it as well, is that things don't land on our lap. We've got to work for things, and we've got to uncover things. They're in there, but we've got to uncover them. So post-rugby, you went and did your applied management degree, which gave you the opportunity to reflect, self-evaluate, look at your skill sets, and then that uncovered your next step. Yeah. And I feel that for those of us who are trying to go to the next stage or the side step or whatever it might be, we're often looking for it to land on our lap. But it's that self-evaluation piece that really uncovers what the next step might look like.
Yeah, I think it was. And it was the case of literally just looking at myself and going, okay, what am I really passionate about? So what is that thing, that vision or that, thing that your purpose on what you want to achieve? Okay, I'm very lucky I can do it in my own way here. So if I want to do this, how is that going to work? And then really giving myself my own motivation and what that was. And so putting that together, led me to what I'm doing here. And every time I think, I want to learn, I love learning. And so in rugby, you learn every week. There's something new, and you can get better every week. Out of the game and also out of your week. Decisions you make, was it execution, decision, mental, whatever. All these things so you're constantly learning. And so I've kept that, now it's just like, man, so I'm reading heaps and listening and, growing all these things that I'm going, man, I'm learning a lot that if I had when I was captain of the All Blacks, I probably would have been a much better captain. But, that's how it works, doesn't it? You just keep growing and learning yourself as a person, as a leader. So I think I'll keep doing that because I really enjoy it.
That's another golden nugget. Like, to look back and go, I could have been an even better leader had I lifted those books, read those case studies, listened to those shows. That's amazing humility. It says a lot about your constant, never-ending desire to grow. And I think looking around the room, it's the same for all of you guys. You've taken a day out of your lives, your busy lives. You've invested in yourselves. And that's, I want to take my hats off to you all. You mentioned another thing, another golden nugget I'll write down after. What am I passionate about? You asked that question. That's a great one to ask yourselves, guys. What are you passionate about? What gets you fired up? What gets you out of bed? What gets you excited? So, Kieran, what are you passionate about off field? What do you enjoy doing family-wise or personal-wise? What are your things?
Yeah, I'm involved in sport, and I love sport, as you know. So my kids now are in sport, so that's a great passion of mine to be able to just go and watch and help out and see. So, my girls play netball. One also plays water polo, hockey. Boys playing ripper. They play touch and cricket in summer. So honestly, just going there and watching them and seeing them grow, and I think sport's such a great thing in a team sport, especially like for everything in young people and kids, and in terms of social cohesion and learning to face a little bit of failure and working hard and collaborating and stuff. So that's awesome. I'm really passionate about that stuff with my kids. It's pretty cool now. My wife probably doesn't agree, but I'm home a lot. I have been away a wee bit. So it's, for me, being able to spend more time with her in different environments rather than just when the kids are there and stuff. So it's been really great. And then probably outside of that, like hobbies and stuff, I enjoy golf. And should play it more. Hoping to play a bit more with that, and still passionate about sport. So I watch sport. I'm involved with a bit of Sky work for rugby, so I do a little bit of that, which is awesome. Connects me to the rugby guys and what have you. And I could watch basically any sport, any day, all day, every day. So So I can be involved in that. So other than that, here, exercise. You exercise for so long. If I don't for a few days now, something changes in my mindset. So keeping myself fit. Probably can tell I haven't touched the weights room since I finished. Haven't touched the protein shake since I finished, which is quite nice. Because you had to fill yourself with a lot of food to keep your weight on when you're playing. So, and then just running. So I got some cool mates who got nothing to do with rugby. Who sometimes we go up the hills and go for a trot for an hour or two, and if not with them, I'll chuck some headphones on and run around home. And it's completely different to what I've done, which was all based off on a clock and got to make this time and do it this fast, and you got this much rest and you got to do this. So just being able to go out there and kind of just cruise and listen and do something like that for me is really beneficial. So that's it's kind of keeping me in a good spot, mentally, and keeps me real refreshed.
And that's so powerful. We mentioned it earlier this morning, just the connection between physical leadership and leading others. One theme that comes up a lot when you talk is people. You mention people a lot and your connectedness and relationships, and it's really powerful. So when you were in the All Blacks, you were the captain. You would have had to manage people down, sideways, and up. So managing coaches and managers and whatnot. So what advice do you have for people out there when you're trying to influence people, have deep, courageous conversations up, down, and sideways?
It's hard. I think the thing was in the All Blacks, it was if it needed to be said, you say it. And so the environment's got to be right for that, because no one's going to say to their boss, this shouldn't happen, or, unless you feel completely safe and you've seen your boss ask for help as well and you've got trust and all this stuff. So, the environment is crucial, and that's your culture, that's all that stuff. So that's first of all got to be right. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to have these conversations. So once you make the conversations a part of who we are, then it's a bit easier to have. And the person who you're having that conversation with will take it in a better way. You know, it's for my growth. It's for the team's growth. For us to have this conversation. So start off with that probably. You know, lead off with, you know, why we're having this conversation. You know, for our benefit, for the teams, whatever it is. And then, you know, obviously, as I said, if it needs to be said, you've got to say it, you know, and that person, it's crucial. If it's crucial for what this whole organisation or business wants to achieve, and if we don't have it, it's going to limit us from trying to achieve it, then have that conversation. And be brave, and it's tough, hard. Probably the toughest conversations I had as, you know, as leader of the All Blacks was kind of conversations with my teammates who had, you know, breached protocols or, you know, slipped up. You know, and, you know, that's probably around curfews or drinking or missing things and things. So those are really hard conversations to have. So I probably, had to, I probably plan them a little bit, you know. So plan them out. So you're not just going in there and maybe lose your cool or lose your, you know, get emotional and things like that. Because, you know, you could be pretty angry with these guys and things. So planning them out, giving them, at the end of it, you know, where we could be if we get there together, you know. Okay, where you could be as a person, a lot of these guys were probably the younger guys in my team. It's like, man, you could be one of these greatest All Blacks, you know, if you blah, 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 do this X, Y, Z. But it's going to take you to do that. And so, making them accountable for their actions, but also at the same time saying, hey, look, you get this right, you can be, you know, pretty damn good. And look at the position you're in, pretty privileged position to be here. So I, struggled with those conversations. I got better at them, but those were the hard ones to have. But obviously the other ones, some of those hardest conversations are the most important.
And that's leadership, is stepping into the courageous conversation.
Yeah.
What's really crucial, and we're going to wrap up pretty shortly, but I'd love to ask you, as a leader of the All Blacks and as a leader of any business, how do you create psychological safety? So there's the leaders out there that go, yeah, you can tell me anything, and then they gaslight you, or they hold it against you, or they erupt. How did you create this psychologically safe space for your players and anybody else to come into and go, you know what, Kieran values me, supports me, cares about me. I can be honest and open. How did you create that?
I think the environment helps. Like, I think it was, you know, it's not just myself, it's the other leaders in the group, you know, it's coaches. But I guess as a personal leader and things like that, it came down to the connections. They can only trust you if they know you, you know. It's like, well, finding that time to connect with them was really important, I guess. So, I think that's probably the way to do it. I've kind of forgotten your question now.
No, what you said is, no, it's brilliant. You've done really well. No, it's brilliant. They can only trust you if they know you. So to me, when I hear that, and I'm sure you guys are thinking similar, get to know your people and spend time with them. Do those Friday afternoon drinks, have an off-site personal development moment. Spend time with them outside of the office. Ask them the questions about their family. Yep. Get to know them. You're right, and that's how it builds trust and respect. Yeah, it is. It's 100%. And I think, our environment is, for the All Blacks, it's cutthroat, you know. It's like, man, you're here, you've got to deliver, and you've got to deliver. There's this expectation on you. There's all this scrutiny. And so it's pretty intense for a lot of the guys. But knowing that, hey, we're here together, I've got your back. You know, I'm going to back you completely, you know. And then for them on the field, it's going, okay, I back you so much that you can make your decisions. You know, if you see something and you want to do it, you go and do it. So getting them to that point, I think, is time. But it's the approach that you take. And so, as we said, it's just about making sure that you value them and value the process of getting to know them. That's powerful. Yeah. Well, one last question I'd love to ask you. So We'll fast forward, you're in your 80s, 90s, or maybe hundreds, because everything's developing in terms of medical care, and one of your children come up, or maybe even grandchildren. I say, hey, Granddad, hey, Kieran, how can I go about my life and lead it with purpose? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, it's like I think to lead with purpose is really just to make sure you're connected with something, you know, have a real purpose yourself, find out why you do what you do. It's what we talked about this morning. Once you know that, then, or what you want to achieve, it's like, man, it gives you, is kind of no ways out, if you know what I mean. And so get that really clear, and then give yourself no outs. It's like, hey, there's no outs for this. If I want to be here, I've got to do this. So yeah, I'd say that's what I'd say to them. I'd say, look, give yourself purpose, and enjoy it. 100%. You've got to enjoy it.
I love it. Well, with that big smile on your face, I know that you enjoy life. And all my engagements that I get with you, I can see that you have an intentional, purposeful life. And you've done that before you got on the field, you've done that on the field, and now you're doing that post-field. So I want to wish you the best, and I want to thank you so much. Could everyone please put your hands together for Kieran Read? Hey guys, if you enjoyed the content today, please smash that subscribe button below. And if you want to become part of my community, I've got an amazing free Facebook group. Please come and join us. The link is in the description below. And also, if you've got any questions about today's session, I'd love to know. Just comment below and I'll be sure to get back to you guys. Have the most amazing day.